Hey everyone, I'm gonna get started. Another Ask Me Anything Thursdays. It's every Thursday now until I guess we run out of questions. So to start off, welcome. I just wanted to make this space a space for people that parents that need advice, inspiration, mentorship, a sounding board, someone to still their wobbles. There are so many questions, and this is so awesome. So I can see this going on for a while, and hopefully this, meets your needs. And if not, if you're looking for more like of a one-on-one personalized problem solving advice, maybe you need a little bit more of a vulnerable space, feel free to reach out to me, okay? Um, as always, my advice is an offering. I'm not an expert, so make sure you keep what resonates and release what doesn't. Also, listen to others' questions and, my suggestions, brainstorming questions about those questions, because quite a few of these I've seen again and again that my answers can be applied more generally. Um, Also, the more I know about your situation, the better. So feel free to share more if you're here live, or otherwise, I'll just keep it anonymous. The format, as always, is that I'll address the needs of attendees if they've already submitted a question. Otherwise, I'll go with a submitted question. So generally stay on mute until I open up for conversation. It'll give me time to respond and possibly even understand the question better if the asker is here and wants to elaborate. I'll send all recordings to YouTube. They'll be public at this point and shared out. And finally, feel free to invite anyone new, as I've opened these up already to a wider audience. So yeah, I'm gonna jump in with the first question that I ever got. I'm excited to finally make it to this one. So the question here is, my unschooled teenager feels unprepared. Oh, maybe that's what I'm calling it. That's my title. My teenager was unschooled, and now she wants to go to university but struggles academically and is blaming me. She puts a lot of pressure on her little sister and me to not unschool, but go the traditional path. Of course, I don't want to, and her little sister even less. How can I help her understand that the ball is in her court and that she didn't waste time when she was younger, but actually gained time and experience other than academically? This is difficult. Let's take a second there. That's hard all around, but I think, as I had stated in the beginning, I think this is a universal topic, especially in the area of unschooling. It's like, how will we know that we were doing the best? How will we know that we were serving our young people the best that we could? And how will we know that our young people won't turn around and say that wasn't enough, or that wasn't what I wanted, or now I feel very unprepared. Um, yeah, that's hard. And I think this is very real, very valid. Um, I can bring up a lot of feelings like, oh my God, I messed up as a parent, as a mom. Um, But I want to say that piece that pops up immediately, the oh my God, I messed up. This is our anxiety. This is not clear thinking. This is not our intuition. In the same way that we have thoughts pop up in our head all the time. And the thoughts might be as crazy as, hey, I'm standing in a high place. What if I jumped right now? Right? And of course, we're going to question those thoughts. Um, at the same time, we should be questioning kind of all of our thoughts. I know that's a lot of work, but our thoughts are just random creative things that our brain brings to the forefront. And sure, there is also a lot more intentional thinking, but the thoughts that just pop up sometimes are just like, what if? And if we follow the what if a lot, sometimes it takes us into a darker place. So I want to just start off by saying, like, let's question our own thoughts instead of letting them make up who we are. Um, oh my God, I messed up as a parent. Like, yeah, sure, say that and then say, wait, hold on, did I? And I'll get into whether or not this means we actually messed up as a parent or not. One thing I want to say before I jump into this one is uh, traditional, the word traditional versus conventional. And this has been said, I'm not the first person to say this, and I don't think I'm splitting hairs here. I think this is helpful in us, in our perspective of what we're doing. So school is not traditional. School has only been around for like what, 200 years now. And then in the long run of human life, which is anywhere from 50,000 to 300,000 years, school is not traditional. Traditional is kind of a lot more like unschooling. It's family based, it's community based, it's, interest based. So to call school traditional is giving it more than I think we should be giving it. School is not traditional. Hey, Monica, glad you're here. Um, and so the other thing that I'm thinking with that is that, so the word that I would like to use for school, is conventional. Conventional means that everybody does that. Most people do it. And it seems like, it makes it easier to choose something else. Just because a lot of people are doing it doesn't mean it's the right way to do it. I think that's true for traditional things as well. There's like biases in both of those, but I won't get too far off topic. So when I talk about public school or private school, I like to say conventional school or the conventional path. Um, because unschooling and self-directed education and things along the that spectrum are a lot more unconventional, not necessarily untraditional. And in fact, my argument is maybe they are kind of traditional. Okay, so again, Monica, to catch you up a little bit, we're talking a bit about an unschooled teenager feeling kind of unprepared for getting into college. They've been unschooled their whole life. Now, how are you going to help me now? This feels, and the unschooled teenager is also arguing that unschooling shouldn't continue in the household. Um, okay, so a little bit about, so again, like I always say, the more that I understand about, your situation, the more I can help. And that's why like one-on-one is the best way that I can coach sometimes. Because I can just keep asking questions. And sometimes it's just the questions that help us arrive together at, what the best answer is at this time. But I think your relationship informs a lot of the next steps here. How close are you with your teenager? What did unschooling look like when you did it? Um, and I'll get into like so many of the other possibilities of what the relationship looks like now, how it can evolve over time, et cetera, et cetera. Um, so it sounds like when she says, I feel unprepared, I think you should stop unschooling my sister. It sounds like there's a lot of grief coming up for her. There's lost time that she's feeling. She's feeling unprepared, as she said. So at the start, I would say, are you giving space for this? And when any time that I feel like with my son that I am not giving space for his feelings or, whatever it is, whether it's good or bad, it's because my ego is coming up. And to explain that a little further without just sounding like, a therapist or something, it's like I have my own baggage. Like maybe if my son was in the same situation, I would be like, well, I would be defending unschooling. Like, no way, this is uh proven by science that this works. All the pieces of unschooling, interest-led and consent-based, et cetera, et cetera, that's all science. So the learning is better. And we get to follow your interest, which is more fun for you, and et cetera, et cetera. But that's our perspective. So just sitting in the kind of uncertainty of what your young person has to say is part of building that relationship. So, are you giving space for this? Yeah, that question. And then at this point, I would question a little bit too, and maybe this is a conversation as well. Again, depending on the relationship, I would hope that you could breach this topic is where is the urgency coming from? Sure, college feels like, okay, there now we have to do A, B, C, whereas before it was like, let's go with the flow. Um, so where's the urgency coming from? Does she feel pressure to leave the house? Does she want to leave the house? Does she see friends prepping for college? Is there social media or some sort of external messaging about college? Is it all of the above? Um, yeah. And then the other piece, I think when we talk about unschooling, one of the big phrases that pop up is just in time versus just in case. Conventional school is just in case. You're going to learn history, you're going to learn calculus just in case. Whereas, most people don't use calculus. Most people, I think the stat is that, most people in their daily life don't use more than like a fifth or sixth grade education in math, but we teach math all the way through 12th grade. So it's like, well, what's that for? That's just in case. And some people use that. Some people use calculus, trigonometry, advanced geometry, et cetera, et cetera. But unschooling leans more into the just in time. And just in time is like, well, here's a need we've just found. A good example would be college. We decided we want to do college. Oh, and then another thing just randomly coming up for me is like, why college? And not to say that college is bad. I do have my own baggage with college. I was sold the lie that college would give me a job and that taking on debt would pay off. It didn't pay off, definitely not in the short run. Let's just say that. But why college? Because I support college when it leads the person somewhere, or when it's like, hey, I'm taking a few classes to figure things out. Awesome. But I don't support jumping into college without any understanding of what you're doing. And, it's an investment. Like, is that investment going to pay off if you don't have a business plan? I think most banks normally wouldn't give you a loan without a plan. And it's hard also to have a plan as like an 18-year-old, 19-year-old about what you're going to do with your career. So sometimes not college now, but maybe college later. So why college is an interesting part of this conversation. But then to go back to like just in time versus just in case, there's that Maya Angelou has a quote, and I'm going to paraphrase a bit. Do the best you can with what we know, with what we know now. When you know better, do better. Uh, how long has your daughter made it clear that she wasn't satisfied with what was going on? Was it something that was building? Was it something that was like kind of more abrupt, like, hey, it's time for college. Now I feel unprepared, and all of these anxieties are coming up, and I need space to let that out. Maybe that's true, and maybe it was like slowly building over time. And again, it's easy for parents to kind of more so silence things that go against with what we understand, what is working for us, what's comfortable for us. And I am a parent and I've done this as well. So I totally get that. There's no judgment coming from me if this has been like, it was rising up for a while. I didn't think anything of it. But now it's like, it's came to the boiling point. It's not the parent's role to predict the future. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's really important. That quote, like, we do the best we can with what we know now, and that is it. And if we're not doing the best we can with what we know now, that is where that's our growth, right? But once we learn that what we were doing was not good enough or has changed because the situation has changed, our interest has changed, we've received a recent diagnosis, people identify differently, et cetera, et cetera. the whole community is different. Something happened, right? Then we switch, right? And that's how being flexible as a parent is really important. But it's not our job to predict the issues that are going to come up, right? Or that's not the right way to say it. It's not our job to predict the future. We should be looking for like down the line what issues might pop up and maybe try and plan for that and talk through that and just be normal humans about that. But we can't say, oh, we messed up in the past when we didn't know any better, you know? And again, this is not a know any better versus not know any better. This is a conversation here, this whole kind of question that you submitted, um, that I love, by the way. So thank you so much for this one. In what ways, in what ways are you there creating space for this conversation? And then the next thing I want to ask is, in what ways are you still offering your help? You know? Um, oh, thanks, Monica. One of my favorite. Yeah, yeah, no, I love this. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. All right, awesome. That's the quote. Thank you, Monica. Um, I do love that one. I use that so often, and it's so great in unschooling, parenting, life. In what ways are you still offering your help? So you're there for space for listening. In what ways are you also like, hey, I hear you. That sucks. I have feelings bubbling up too about your response, but I'm going to hold on to them for a second. But also, how can I help you? What do you need? How can I continue to facilitate your education? How can I help you to continue to facilitate your life? Um, Right, because that's our job as parents. And even if our children, if our young adults, our young people push us away, how can we still be there? Maybe not necessarily in their face, but still be there for facilitation when they need us or when they want us. Um, what help does your daughter want? I think, yes, a daughter. What help does your daughter want right now? Is it mentoring? Does she want a tutor? Does she maybe need, Khan Academy or study groups? Does she need like body doubling, someone just to kind of sit by or be in the same room while she works through some of these things? Um, so both of those first two steps, how to give space for this and how to offer help, are both coming from curiosity. I think that is really important. Curiosity. And again, it's trying our best not to bring our baggage into it, not to say that everything that we bring into this is baggage, but oftentimes that's what happens with parents when we get in trouble. It's because our baggage is holding us back. Um, yeah, and then like to expound a little bit more, in what ways are you still being present for her feedback without your argument? Um, Sometimes by trying to fix the situation, we gloss over the feelings. And there was such a good talk, and I might have already said this, but it was uh, the Unschooling Summit. It was Akila Richards and Thea Monyi. I might be pronouncing her name wrong, but Thea had an amazing story about how her daughter had left a postcard. She lost it, and they had to get on a plane to go back home. Um, and the mom was like, "Oh, I hear you. We can get you a different postcard, or we can get you the same one. We can look online. There's Amazon. Don't worry about it right now. Let's just get on the plane." And the daughter was like, "But I'm sad now." Um, and I mean, that's such an impactful story because our kids are sometimes the teachers for us on this. Um, it's like she recognizes that she needs the space to just feel. And sometimes as parents, we're always trying to fix, fix, fix. But to have space to feel is not something that we had as kids growing up. I didn't have this. I didn't have space to just, I wasn't allowed to cry. Just so much of that. So to actually be that generational change and allow that space, Monica's saying, yeah, that conversation about grief was great. It was so good. I've watched it twice now. I'll probably go back again. Um, yeah, giving space for something that we didn't have as children, that's hard, right? Because you're building something while you're what's the saying? It's like you're flying the plane while still building it. Uh, all feelings are meant to be felt. All feelings are valid. Yeah, and it's so hard. Like, and again, Monica, thanks. I know that and I understand that, and I still am learning this, right? I'm still learning it. So, in what ways can we provide this to our children, to our young people, for our young people in ways that we didn't have it growing up? Um, And one quote that you had in here, she didn't waste time when she was younger, but actually gained time and experience other than academically. This may be true. And as an unschooler, as someone who feels like I believe in the faith, or what have you, of unschooling, I 100% agree. But is this the conversation she needs now? Right? This is the conversation that you want to have. But does your daughter need to hear this now? Probably not, right? And again, this comes back to the curiosity, taking our ego out of the equation and giving space, listening, and then saying, how can I help? Do you want help right now? Right? And there's that one thing I learned like maybe 2, 3 years ago. It's like, do you need to be heard? Do you need to be helped? And then the third one, which was added a little later, do you need to be left alone? And sometimes it's any one of these, right? This worked, these three really helped me in my relationship with my wife. But these three work with any relationship, with your children, with your friends, family, community, heard, helped, or left alone. And I think they're all valid in their own times. And I've needed all three of those at different times, right? Um, there's a concept in unschooling and kind of more community-based life as well. Your freedom shouldn't come at the cost of others' freedoms. And I want to explain this a bit deeper because really this sounds like alt-right ideology. It's not. It's really not. I think as people, we should have freedom. And by freedom, I'm talking about agency, autonomy to do things that we want to do. But our agency and our autonomy to do something shouldn't come at the cost of somebody else's autonomy and agency to do their own thing. And sure, there's a lot of, back and forth and discussion that needs to happen. It's not clear cut, but your daughter's right. Your daughter, her freedom to disagree and be vocally heard and process her grief shouldn't come at the cost of others' freedom to still engage in unschooling, right? Um, but again, there should be space, lots of it, maybe repeated spaces for her to tell her side. Okay. So the one pushback I would say is like, I know you are feeling that this didn't go well for you, but your freedom to express that with us listening doesn't come at the cost of you kind of ruining what we're doing right now that might be really working for everyone else. Um, I want to pause and say another question. How is this all weighing on you? Because up to this point, I've been saying, like, put your baggage away. It's not part of the conversation. You have all these questions, um, all these anxieties coming up. But are you able to process this? Is it overwhelming? Do you need another mode to engage with the conversation? Do you need to be able to blog, to be able to journal? Maybe you need to text a friend. Maybe you need to send, audio messages back and forth or voicemails, for like kind of those more asynchronous relationships. Do you need people in person to just like get this off? Do you need a therapist? Do you need a coach? Do you need a partner that's a little bit more present or, can understand how you're feeling? Um, And I'm not saying you're gonna find all of these, you know. Um, but what works for you in this in processing all of this? Because this is a lot. And like I said, like at the beginning, let's take a deep breath. This is a hard one. Um, but I will, so what I will say, Monica's just sharing something. I let my son to have all feelings. I just creating his toolbox for life, regulation, self-advocacy, just offer my support if that is what he wants at the moment, or just sit close by doing nothing. Sometimes learning, sitting in uncomfortable situations, getting comfortable is a big learning experience. Yeah, yeah, I love that, Monica. Thank you for sharing. I think as parents, we like to fix, and we are not happy to sit in silence with uncertainty. And that's one thing that we should get used to doing is just we don't know. We don't know what's going to be happening. And I talked about this at the Unschooling Summit. I think Akila and Thea's talk also really echoes this. Um, we don't know what's coming up. And so to let that, you know, interrupt our joy and our processing of grief now, and to let that interrupt, kind of our ability to be present in the current moment, um, that's terrible, right? That's bad, but it's hard for us. It's hard. Um, so I also want to validate you as a mother, um, that has submitted this question. Maybe it's not what she needs now, but I want to give you what your side is because I think these talking points are helpful when in due time they can rise up. Not so you can win the argument or say, I told you so, but to say, like, these are my values and this is where I was coming from. And at the same time, I'm still open to hear your side. I'm still open that maybe I am wrong. I'm only human, right? All right. So for validation. There's the possibility that it doesn't work for her now, that unschooling in the how many years that she's done it does not work for her now, or it didn't prep her for where she wants to be now. And at the same time, it works for her little sister. Okay, so that's one point. She might need time, she might need years to have experience and reflect on all of this, and then maybe even come to the realization like, I felt wholly unprepared for college, but I see people post-college and even in college that are floundering, with normal life skills and understanding who they are as people that I am light years ahead on. Um, and this comes from my own reflection on my life because I feel like I was great at school, primary, secondary school. I was great at college. And then after college, I couldn't find the job that I wanted. Um, and I didn't have someone to tell me what to do next because that was all of conventional education, telling me what to do. What's the next step? So when I didn't have that anymore, it was like that was the point that I started learning about myself. That was the point that I started learning entrepreneurialism from the beginning. That was the point that I learned, like, who am I from the beginning? Um, and I think the one biggest thing, maybe the biggest thing that we can provide to our children is to know themselves now and to not become disconnected from themselves, to become very connected to themselves, um, to understand intuition, how they're feeling, to be validated in that. And that's not something that I would say that most people get out of a conventional school education. Um, yeah, in fact, I think school really disconnects people from themselves. Um, okay, also, so yeah, she might need time, even years to experience, just experience life and reflect on it and then see like comparison can be like the devil, but I think comparison doesn't mean all comparison is bad. She will start to compare her situation with everyone else that's around her, all of her peers, all of the people that should be on the same level. And she'll find that she's behind maybe academically, or maybe not. But she'll also find that her interest, she'll be really interest led in a way that most people can't or haven't learned how to do yet. And she'll find that, as a person, she's still very whole as a person, which again is the best thing to have. And I didn't know that until I started figuring myself out much after college. Um, Self-direction is a lifelong undertaking. Life itself is a constant pivot. Uh, but what matters most in your relationship, even if she holds on to those feelings, what matters most? What is it? What is important about you still being a mother and having an adult child or, an adolescent child? You can't just coerce her to believe differently. You want her to arrive there with her own knowledge, if she does, because there's a possibility that she doesn't. Maybe she disagrees with you her whole life. And if so, even if so, how can you still be her mother? How can you still live in your values and try and facilitate or support and maybe listen to her, help her, or leave her alone, in the times that she needs that? Uh, yeah, that's mostly what's coming up for me. I think this was a great one. Uh, Again, kind of unschooled teenager feeling unprepared for college. Monica, I'm recognizing that you're here, so if you have anything you want to add, feel free. I know you've been kind of messaging the whole way through, and that's been really helpful for the conversation, and it's been enlightening. Um, but yeah, that's what's coming up for me.
Hello everyone.
Hi,
You
Monica.
know, I cannot really relate to this question or topic because I'm in very different situation with my son.
Hmm.
And for me, I don't even aim or think about college. For me and our family, it's all about self-advocacy, life
Hmm.
skills, and just, be happy and
Yeah.
comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand that too. And I think this is a very de-schooled perspective, Monica, to be like, well, when we get there, we'll get there. Or if we get there, we'll get there. But I agree. It's like lead with values. And what you're saying, self-advocacy, like that's huge. And in a conventional school, kids don't get to advocate for themselves. Like,
Many days because academically my son is way behind
mhm,
in a quotes behind because I don't compare him to his peers or anybody, his own little person. And many times when I feel really like discouraged, I start to focus on life skills over academics, on the progress in these areas, which are more important for me at the moment than anything like school is asking for, like ABCs and counting, you
yeah.
know. So,
Yeah, I mean, you're preaching to the
and
choir.
because my son is like a non-speaker,
Mhm.
so my my big focus is on communication.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially if there is disability, neurodivergence, you have to set your expectations accordingly. Um, and I don't think there is a downside to that. Whereas I think a lot of society will tell you that there is a downside to that. I don't think so. If you can personalize life for someone that needs it or someone that wants it, I think that's a win every time. Um, yeah, thanks for sharing, Monica. I think we're kind of coming to the end. And Monica, if you haven't shared any questions, feel free to do so. I will send this recording out in an email soon enough. Um, but thank you so much for being here. Thank you to everybody that has submitted questions, and I'll see you again next Thursday. For me, it's noon Eastern time, but it'll always be then. And reach out if you have any other personalized questions. So thank you so much for being here, and thanks for tuning in.